Salute, 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 everybody. Um, Excuse me for 1 second. I just got to check something. Give me a sec. All right, I think I'm good. Think I'm in business. Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if you guys could hear me all right. You already know what to do. Throw some nines in the chat if you're in the building, if you can hear me clearly, if everything is audible and coherent on my end. And let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let's see who we have in the building. Oh, we got my twin, my Leo twin. I see y'all. I'll see y'all coming through. Salute to the King Daryl in the building. He says, salute to my Leo twin, Sugar Free. He threw some roses at me, some nines, and some custom emojis with the Mars. Yes, yes, indeed, King. You know, I love to see that. He says, salute to the rest of the kings and the queens in the chat. Absolutely, King Daryl. Big love to you as well, twin. Always wonderful to have you in the building. Salute to the great Mike in the building. Hey, great Mike. How you doing? I hope you're doing well, King. Salute to the King Demo in the building. Okay, so while we get started here, of course, I'd like to say, okay, you guys can hear me. Wonderful. I see some nines. Great. All right, so hopefully everybody is doing well. I hope that you guys had a good week. My week was pretty chill. Ran into, a little bumps and, of busyness here and there. But we took care of business as usual. So I was definitely thankful, to get to my weekend and rest and recuperate. Of course, before we gear into the coming week, hopefully everybody is doing good. Everybody rested well. Not sure if you guys may have spent time or chilled with your loved ones or anything like that, but hopefully, all in all, you guys had a pretty good week and a good weekend. Child, I got my little mood going. I got my tea right here with my Baileys and my anise and my cinnamon sticks. I got some Palo Santo and jasmine incense going. Listen, I was in a whole vibe, okay? Today has just been like hella chill. So I definitely am feeling calm, mind feeling clear and at ease. But yeah, I wanted to talk some boxing with you guys. Of course, that's what we do here on this side. Um, let's see, where do I want to start? Well, I'll start here. Hold on, let me turn this up a little bit. I'll start here. So, I think at this point, you guys know that I'm always pretty much in a state of observation when it comes to boxing, right? I'm always doing some type or some level of reconnaissance, okay, when it comes to the sport, to one degree or another, right? I'm investigating, I'm taking a survey of the terrain, I'm taking note of the temperature of the room, so to speak, and seeing what type of vibe, is generally going on in the building. I like to see things, that may be underway. I like to see what is brewing or what can be brewing, things that may have been spoken of, messages underneath those things that haven't been spoken, but things that at the same time have been said loudly, because some things don't have to be said for you to understand what's being said, right? So I like to look at all of those types of things. And one of the things that I gathered over the last week was that, it's something that isn't new by far, but it's definitely something that I wanted to, shed a light on in tonight's discussion, which is that, I don't think that much of the boxing world, how can I say it? I don't think that people are asking the right questions. I'll say that, right? I don't think people are asking. I don't find that wherever I go, let's say across social media, right? Because that's like a huge network of where a lot of parlance, a lot of conversation and dialogue takes place, right? And so, at least for the spaces that I visit across social media, I don't really see as many people as I would like. Not that the right questions aren't being answered, but that I don't see very many people broadening their perspective outside, of course, of the few who I find to be conscious and cognizant of these things already, right? From the people that we love and follow ourselves, which don't seem to be very many across, this boxing commentary that we do. But that the voices are there, but that as far as generally speaking, I don't know, something about me takes issue with the fact that there aren't quite enough people asking the right questions. There isn't an overall mentality that I find beneficial overall for the sport. And I think in some aspect or another, I tend to touch on this a lot within my commentary because I am somebody who likes to, I'm a very pensive person by nature. And so, not that everybody has to be on my type of time, but certainly when I am passionate about something, I like to inquire into it to see in what ways can things, continue to develop if they're on the right track, or if they aren't, what are the things that may be hindering those particular levels of development? What is, kind of standing as a blockade to the progress, to the thing that I am interested in, right? I think that much of the boxing world tends to be, or is, or has been, I should say rather, in a very weird bubble. Am I the only one that thinks that? I know that I'm not, because I'm in a room full of my family, right? So I know that you guys notice the constant state, that the mentality is in, where people seem to be in this type of vague, little bubble, right? And not only the people, but just the sport in general. And when I say weird bubble, I guess I could maybe explicate a little bit further in saying that something, there's a little bit of inhibition that I don't think that we have gotten beyond at this point. I think that we're seeing some things materialize, and we have seen some good, things so far, materialize this year. But there is still some type of limiting dynamism in the sport. I still feel that there are some limitations here and there, the seeds of limitation. And I think that some of it is natural, right? Because there are things that just don't get materialized because of disagreements, because of people not being on the same page. There isn't a sense of amicability between parties. That's kind of a natural occurrence, right? When people come up, I guess, against a level of crossroads, and they have to come to terms in order to get beyond that or whatever, and things have to be rectified in order to come to agreement. I get that. But then some of that limiting energy, I feel, is unnatural at the same time as well, because there are mindsets that are in place where I said people are in a weird bubble, where I think that remaining in that type of space is imposing a limitation that can easily be swept aside to make the best possible fights happen, to make the best possible exchanges happen, and to ultimately, give the fight fans what we are hanging on to see, which is, at least for us real ones in the building, the best fighting the best. That's eventually what we want to get to. And that isn't something that has to happen once every fucking 5 years. Facts or no? Because if we're doing things the right way, then that will be the state of mind that is recurrent in the sport, that is constantly being refreshed and saluted in the sport, so that we won't ever have to continue waiting 8 or so years, to see a fight made, or to get a glimmer of a possibility of a fight. You feel what I'm saying? So I just think it's very interesting. It hasn't seemed to be able to shake off the rust of the past 2 years, I want to say. That's the state that boxing is in. Hasn't quite been able to shake off a lot of the rust, a lot of the staleness, a lot of the impasses between, fighters coming to terms, agreements being made, people putting egos aside, putting down the diva mentality, whatever it is, right? We still see an ongoing showing of these little habits and these little pockets here and there. And, I'm wondering, I guess, ultimately, if we can ever get beyond that in boxing. Is that something that, is that become the norm? You know what I mean? That's what I've been thinking about. And I think that we've seen, amid everything that we've seen with the scandals, right, over the past, year or two, right? We've seen, upsets over the past 2 years. We've seen compromises being made. We've seen a lot of things, okay? But the one thing we haven't seen yet, to me at least, is the mobilization of boxing beyond the point that we've been. We haven't quite seen that upward mobilization. And I guess, it's very subjective at that point, because my level of mobilization for the sport may differ completely from somebody else's idea of what the mobilization of the sport looks like. Somebody may think it's already mobilized, right? But as far as I'm concerned, we can definitely do much better. And for the people I respect who share the mindset that I do, can concur with that, can see the lay of the land and say, no, we can rise. We can do some more rising to our own occasion in the sport. As fans, as fighters, promoters, or whatever it may be, we are all tied to this sport in one way or another. And there is always room for improvement, is there not? Especially for something that you deem you care about, that you are invested in, right? Which is what we are. I'm still finding, you guys, that, some fighters are, still falling into their little bad habits here and there. The same mindset, hindering mindset, is being exhibited here and there, which stands to threaten the progress of seeing the ultimate fights that we want to see get materialized, right? Some fighters, also haven't quite found their groove yet, which we'll get into. Or perhaps they did find their groove, but they're being denied access to expressing that groove that they're in, which we will get into. Some other things that I'm finding that are hindering that type of progress is the constant threat of old narratives being imposed on fighters who haven't even begun to shine before they're being shot down. You know what I'm saying? So that there's an array of things that pose as a limitation to what is possible. What's possible? That's problematic for me, right? So that there's a substantial level of reconnaissance, evaluation, and introspection, real talk, that is very much due in the sport that we love on every angle and in every level. I think everybody needs their share of reconnaissance and reevaluation being done. Everybody needs to be investigative about what it is that they want going forward, right? And at some point, I think that the objective has to be, to refocus and to reframe what the motivation actually is, what their personal motivation actually is, as we touched upon last week when we convened, right, on the topic of a new dawn and walking into that and being able to create and set one's path, set one's intentions, right? So reframing of the motivation is a part of that ongoing dialogue that I like to have, because I think it's important inside and outside of boxing, just on a everyday general level. And perhaps, it's such that there actually may be a dichotomy within this theme that I am presenting. I think that there is a clear dichotomy, rather, right? When I say dichotomy, what I'm saying is that there is a distinct divide. There's a divide, okay? And that divide seems to be between the mindsets and the aims and the destination between a set group of people versus another set of people in the sport. Now, I don't think that it's realistic to assume that we're all going to be kumbaya, holding hands on our way to the rainbow, to get to the pot of gold at the end of the day. I don't think that we're all, to say monolithic in that degree, that we are all going to be running off into the sunset with the same notion. No, of course, there are varying perspectives. There's going to be diversity among, what people have in mind as far as their immediate goals and their long-term goals for boxing as far as the fight is concerned. And then definitely, all of their fans are going to have their own picks or their pets or their likes or their dislikes. That's not to say that we all need to be standing naively assuming that we all have the same vision. But I do think that as boxing enthusiasts, no matter what degree you stand on, whether you're a fighter or a fan, if you claim the sport, then you should want it to progress for the better. That I do think is a unifying factor that everybody should be able to agree to without much strife or tug and pull. I think that, you should be aiming to carry on the legacy that's been carried on the shoulders of the giants who made this sport a great sport, right? Should the boxing world's focus, let's say, only be that of money? Not to me. Should this be, about a popularity contest? Not to me. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that the money isn't or shouldn't be the goal of the fighter. Not to say that popularity isn't something that one should strive towards. But is that the only and singular focus and aim? Not to me. I think that boxing is much more and stands to make a much bigger statement than that, right? Because we are talking about connection. We are talking about legacy. We are talking about saying your name 100 years from now, the way we can mention Jack Johnson's name, the way we could mention Joe Louis's name. You know what I'm saying? And all the beautiful greats that we love. So forth and so on. All the way back up until recent history, right? So that there's a larger and much broader and much deeper connection to the sport outside of simply being known, for the next 5 minutes or whatever have you, right? So I think that we should be wanting to add new names to those great names that are etched in the stone of greatness, right? We should be looking to uphold people whose names can be added to that list of dynamic and beautiful brothers who have paved the way. Why do I feel like there is a hindering of that with the cattiness dialogue that we hear time and time again, with the limiting mindsets and perspectives that we hear going around? Don't you want to boost up people? Like I said in the segment when I was talking about Devin Haney last week, I don't know if you guys recall, right? When I was saying that Devin is very much a fresh young man. He is among, the young kids who are going to carry this sport forward for the next 10 years. Don't you want to elevate him? Don't you want to put respect on his name so that he stands on the confidence of the backing of people who believe in his potential? You know what I'm saying? Same could be said for Abdullah. Same could be said for Shakur and Tank and whoever else. You know what I'm saying? Of this particular time. Of whoever else, among the men and women who are making a name for themselves in this era, in this new era, right? So whether you are a prospect or an elite, if you have, money or whatever the hell the case is, I think that if that particular mindset is not your aim and focus, I cannot and will not subscribe. I won't subscribe to that perspective at all. And I won't ever support the narrative that pushes that you should be anything other than that or upholding anything other than that. You understand? So that I deeply admire and respect the history of boxing. And I very much want to see the present boxing landscape be thickened with life, thickened with new possibilities. And it goes without saying that when I think about the future of boxing, I wanted to see new heights. I want it to be in good hands, right? So that there's a continuous dialogue between past, present, and future that I'm looking to uphold and push forward. Do you think that's something that we could materialize given the current mindset that we see? Do you think that could be a reality amid the current mindset that we see parading and being, pervasive in the sport right now? Do you think we can see that type of future with the current mindset that we see going on right now, generally speaking, in boxing? I don't think that can be, it's going to be possible because people will box and the sport of boxing will continue, but will it see the glory that we know that it can return to? And I would even posit, even bypass the days of old, right? As far as taking it further in what we can do, in solidifying, more greats and so forth and so on. That's the reconnaissance that I find to be absolutely necessary for everyone who considers themselves a supporter of boxing, right? That's what I think. Now, speaking of looking into the future of boxing and having that on my mind. Now, I think we touched a little bit on this last week as well. You guys, when we consider the future of boxing, I think that it's safe to say that we, envision, sort of a passing on of the torch, right? When we consider the future of boxing, that's how we look at it. The passing on of a torch, so to speak, right? We think about, the well-being, right? And fire of the sport. We think about the heart, the essential, the centerpiece of the sport being passed down and being carried through, right? We think about the sport being placed in good hands when we reference the future of boxing. We are not talking about its end. We are talking about its lifeline. We are talking about longevity. We are talking about sustenance and sustainability when we reference the future, right? We think about hands that are firm, that's going to hold this sport, hands that can assure us that it can bear the weight that is placed on them, right? We think about hands that represent the uprightness of our aspirations as fight fans. That's what we think about, in my view. Now, given that, I really do have an honest question. For any of you who saw the fight last night with the heavyweight top card fight, with what you saw of the upcoming heavyweights last evening on last night's card, are you impressed? Were you impressed with the future of what boxing can be with the two men that you saw fight last evening? Richard Torres versus Guido Vianello. Did you guys have a hope for the American heavyweight division looking at those two men? This is an honest question. This is not even any shade, y'all. This is just real talk. You know what I'm saying? I just really wanted to bring this dialogue to the forefront because I think that it would be a disservice not to speak openly and honestly about it, right? Now, Top Rank had a card last evening. Richard Torres versus Guido Vianello took place, right? Last evening, you guys, for those of you who saw it. And I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it all the way real, y'all. That shit was a sloppy goddamn mess. I just have to really say it how it's in my heart. You feel me? Like I have to speak what's on my heart. I have to say it how I feel it. That shit was sloppy as fuck, y'all. You know what I mean? And also, looking at it, I could not help but beg the question. What is the future of the American heavyweight division? What is the future, given what I am seeing with these two men in the ring before me? What is the future? The question I'm just looking at it in my head like, damn, the shit was in neon lights in my mind. And I'm like, whoa, like, what the hell is the future of the American heavyweight division? Does it stand a chance? Right? And it's a recurrent question that I seem to encircle quite a bit whenever I think about the landscape of things right now, as far as the American heavyweight division. And we touched on this, like I said, in our previous discussion last week when I was going into my Wilder piece, right? And I touched upon this a little bit. Now, I'd like to posit this. I like Richard Torres, okay? I watched him. I rooted for him in the Olympics. I thought that he was a man of fire. He has a really, really big heart, you guys. Richard Torres, right? A lot of heart. And I would like to see the young man do well as he continues to build in the sport. No shade to Torres at all. You understand? Because he's at where he's at. You know what I'm saying? Because he put the work in. However, I would be remiss to not acknowledge my query, my genuine and honest query. Okay? I think that the lackluster appeal, all right? I think that the lackluster appeal that exists in the American heavyweight division is probably a little bit of karma coming around to kick the boxing world in its ass, if I'm being honest, you guys. Okay? Much too much. Much too much of the boxing world. Let's not be forgetful. Much too much of the boxing world had a good thing. Okay? And they didn't want it when they had it. They didn't want it when they had it. Way too eager, way too ardent and anxious about disowning and disclaiming the reigning heavyweight that they had at the time for 10 years. Okay? I don't know, you guys. You know, all of the persona, all of that masculinity, all of that unapologetically black power that he carried for his family, for his community, and his country, real talk, was too much for some people. Of course, I'm referring to none other than the King Deontay Wilder. Whether you love him or hate him, or want to love him or love to hate him, he was the heavyweight king of the American heavyweight division. There was no one above him. It's just facts, y'all. We got to look at the facts. Take the emotions and the sassy shit out of here. We are looking at the facts. Was he not the reigning American heavyweight king? Yes, he was. Okay? He represented his people. He represented his nation. Okay? Somehow, that was too much to fully crown him king. They refrained from doing that. Now, of course, there was, glazing. Oh, Deontay Wilder, oh my God, he's like Thanos. He's getting rid of people one by one. You know what I'm saying? You had the glazers on the side or whatever who weren't really genuinely rocking with him and were quick to drop him, when he wasn't shown in his best light. Right? There were people on the sidelines, scavenging, but who didn't have the best intentions for him at the time. But to fully crown him? No. They were not willing to do that for whatever reason. Deontay Wilder grabbed the accolades. He swept many people off of their feet with his dominance and his no-nonsense stature. But as soon as the man, quote unquote, lost that first fight, he dropped faster than a hot-ass mixtape. Facts or no? They dropped his ass faster than a hot mixtape. The fuck? What happened? What happened to all the glazing y'all was doing 5 minutes earlier? Couldn't wait to get rid of that man. Couldn't wait to write columns about how unskilled he is, how he only has a right hand, how undeserving he's been all of that time. And yet here we are today, right? Here we are today with no one presently showing the level of valor that it took to carry the division the way that he did. Who is going to be that person? Now we are left empty-handed at this point and have been. Interesting stuff. No one around at this point has superseded Wilder's stature or his era or his claim to the American heavyweight landscape. Okay? Nobody has since bypassed the mark that he's made among the heavyweights in America. 10 title defenses tying Muhammad Ali? Who stands to do that? Who's going to make it 11? These are serious questions. We had Jared Anderson, if you guys goddamn recall, right? But he's proven questionable on myriad levels over the years. But I'm only 23, right? The infamous, quote that we all say from him. Okay? He's proven questionable. And it really culminated, in his fight with Martin Bakole last August. Okay? Real talk. With all the promise that we hoped that he would fulfill and that we saw in him, that young man's heart, it just wasn't committed to the sport. I don't know if he's since, found a little bit of sense of focus. I'm not sure if he's been trying to realign his purpose. I have no idea. But as it stands, the man's heart is not in it. And you cannot claim supremacy in a division that you do not want. It just can't happen. Time waits for nobody. If he hasn't figured it out now, on to the next. That's how life works. And that's certainly how boxing works. Okay? Especially for a black fighter. You're not going to get too many chances to get it together out here. And now, we come to Richard Torres in his performance last evening. Is what you see before you, or what you saw before you, with the young man Richard Torres last night, can you say that you can legitimately, as fight fans, I'm talking to everybody, do you guys feel that with what you saw of Richard Torres last evening and what you know of him cumulatively in his fights, do you think that you can legitimately place your faith in the heavyweight division on his back for him to carry the American heavyweight division? Can you put your faith in him? Can you have a confident future of American heavyweight boxing when you think about Richard Torres? Can he be your face of heavyweight boxing? That's a real question. For me, I'm going to keep it a buck. At this time, the answer is no. I think we could all agree to that. And I think you already knew my answer before you heard it coming. Okay? However, like I said, I do want to salute him on his victory. Okay, over Guido. He will continue to develop, I'm sure. He's got a team, I'm saying? He's got some fights under his belts. So one could assume, of course, that he is still building and still formulating. He had 13 fights, so he's obviously still building. He is still in a developmental period, if you will. But at this juncture, Keyshawn Davis also has 13 fights, and he's miles and miles ahead as far as, credence and stature, and attraction factor as far as his style, right? So I don't know what to do with that one there. 13 fights, okay. At this juncture, I do not see a heavyweight king. There is none. And should we ever be fortunate enough again to see one in this era, I hope that the maturity level of the overall boxing world shows some types of semblance of its own developmental progress. Because we were quite immature. I can't even say we, because I wasn't a part of that shit. And the real ones in the building weren't a part of that shit either. Whether you liked him or not. I'm talking about Deontay Wilder, right? When you had him, you was like, all right, yeah, this is it. But some people just couldn't deal with this man holding a crown for whatever reason. And now that they don't have one, these people on the sidelines are scraping for scraps. Oh, he's the future. Did you guys hear the announcers? Oh, here are the heavyweights, the main events making their way into the building. Oh, the future of the heavyweight division. They didn't even sound confident saying that, those announcers. If the American heavyweight division is gone, boxing is gone. And you can call me, a purist or a centrist or, a bias, American bias heavyweight. Hell goddamn yeah. Hell goddamn yeah. We've always set the terms and the standards for heavyweight boxing. Not that there haven't been others who have walked along the line, but we have set the standards for other people to follow our footsteps, American heavyweights. So if it's gone over here, who can really uphold it in true fashion the way we can? I think it's a viable question. I hope that people, if we are ever lucky enough to get another heavyweight within this era, that they aren't dumb enough to bypass something great or something that shows promise on the rim of greatness when it's right in front of them. Hopefully they do not make the mistake of criticizing it to death, of having crazy expectations that they place on no one else, or whatever the case have you. All of these limiting perspectives that seek to ruin the dynamism and dynamic of a fighter, instead of really foster and hone in and salute the fire that is resonant and obvious. Do we even deserve another American great heavyweight? Would we know what to do with him, the general public? That is. I was faced with those particular questions last night, looking at those two men in the ring, y'all. I was like, damn, what, where is the heavyweight division, y'all? We've been asking this for some years. Is it something that can be resuscitated? A lot of questions surrounding that, you guys. I'd definitely love to know what y'all think about that. Hold on, let me check in with my people to see if I've missed any people. Oh, yep, I see some people in the building. Hey, my sister Tay Tay. Hey, beautiful sis. Nice to see you, my love. Salute to my beautiful sis Cameron in the building. Hey, beautiful sis. Nice to see you. The King Stephen is in the building. Peace be unto you always, King. Lovely to have you as always. Salute. Yes, I got my people in the building. Oh, we got Mark in the building. Hey, King Mark Wunderlich. How you doing, King? Thank you for joining. I think this is my first time seeing you in the chat, if I'm not mistaken. Salute to you. Salute to you, and thank you for joining. We got the Coach Hudson in the building. Salute, King. What's up? The richest one is in the building. Okay. Oh, and we got our first super chat of the night from the King here for boxing. Thank you so much, King, for showing support to the channel as always. Standing 10 toes. I appreciate you in the building. We got the King PG. Yes, salute to the King PG in the building. The King Darius. What's up, beloved? Yes, I see my people. What's up to the King of Condo? I'm happy to see you guys. Every time I see you guys, I get so happy and excited. I'm like, oh, my people. Yes, indeed, you guys. Yeah, what do you guys think about this heavyweight landscape? I just, oh my goodness, I was just looking at the, there was no defense. It's like, what are you gonna? It was just tired. I'm like, damn. Well, shit. I didn't know what to make of what I was seeing, you guys. I really didn't, to be honest. I really, really did not. Let's see what my family is talking about. My twin says part of the problem is that the current boxers and fans don't recognize their history, let alone the history of the sport. You better talk to them, twin. I gotta say that shit again. Part of the problem is that current boxers and fans don't recognize their history, let alone the history of the sport. Thank you so much, beautiful King Daryl. Okay? So true. I could not have said that better. And I could not have agreed more with that statement. Absolutely true. I agree with you 100%. The King Stephen says, that fight was terrible. Yo, I was watching that fight like, all right. They had some moments of, sprinkling some pepper here and there, what I'm saying, with the shots. Richard Torres was catching him with some good shots. You feel me? But just overall, just like, well, damn, this don't look like no damn main event. You feel? The King Kano says, not impressed at all with the heavyweights from last night. Damn, y'all. Y'all feel the same? The great Mike says, I'm not at all impressed with the heavyweights. Damn. Damn. So y'all definitely feel me on that shit. What's up, Ravens Nation? Nice to see you. He says, they need to go to the MMA heavyweight division with that gas tank. Damn, Raven, for real? Salute to the King, Ob Jones. I see you, King. Salute to you. Sloppy as hell. Weren't they, King Stephen? Just as sloppy as they want to be. I'm like, damn, y'all gonna get this together? Are you gonna clean this up? What have you been working on in the gym? Eating goddamn donuts? What's going on? What is going on? Y'all should not be looking this damn sloppy. Ciao. Salute to the King Specs in the building. I see you. Thank you for my flowers. Salute to you. Great Mike says, Torres needs lots of fine tuning. Yeah, he does. You know what I'm saying? And he has, he got the lion heart. He definitely does. You know what I'm saying? He's not shy. He is not reticent when he is fighting. He throws his hands. He's not afraid of exchanging. He goes for it. That's what I like about him. That's what I noticed about him early on in the Olympics. For the reason why I kept an eye out on him and stuff like that. Was happy when he won. But fine tuning is the perfect way to describe it. Great Mike. It's just a lot of rough edges, a lot of loose ends. Salute to the King Todd Swindle in the building. Nice to see you, King. Thank you for coming. The Coach Hudson says, Wilder brought the heavyweight American boxing back to the world stage. If they not American, what we talking about? You better say it again, Coach. Okay? Facts. Salute to the King Snoopy in the building. I see you. Salute to the King Jason in the building. He says, peace and blessings, SugarFreeMars. Peace to everyone in the chat. Salute to you, beautiful brother. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Yeah, y'all. I'm just like, I don't know if the heavyweight division gonna make it. we need to give the heavyweight division some goddamn, what's it, what they call it? Those goddamn resuscitation shit where they motherfucking, zab you with the electric thing to get your heart going again, because the heart of the heavyweight damn division, y'all, it's failing. We got some heart failure happening here. You know what I mean? I don't know if it could be turned around. Of course, I'd like it to be, but with the current mix of, I guess, which we would call prospects, it's just really not looking, it's not looking good, but at least Torres, I will say this, at least Torres is showing up to his fights. At least he is showing a commitment. At least he is not, running around, getting arrested and all these types of things that we've seen. I hate to say that about the King Jarrett, with the young brother Jarrett, but what we've seen of him has just been a whirlwind of antics. We've seen a level of childishness. His mindset has not, kind of wrapped around a level of maturity enough that would sustain him and that would acclimate him into accepting his role as a serious heavyweight fighter or anything like that, at least not in the last few years. And up until this point, of course, after he lost so devastatingly to Martin Bakole, I think perhaps that may have shaken him up in some type of way. But of course, there still remains to, be seen his level of commitment to the sport. And even though I think he won his last fight, I forget that was some months ago and stuff like that. Even in that last fight, he did not look, as sharp or as committed or as eager, to solidify his claim to the heavyweight division as one would expect him to be. You know what I mean? I just don't know. There's so many questions. So many questions, you guys. Now let's get to moving on up. Let me see what my twin says. Twin says the heavyweight division needs a time machine. We need prime Mike Tyson, prime Evander Holyfield, Muhammad Ali, and prime Deontay Wilder back. You ain't never lie, son. If I had a time machine, child, please. We'd never be wanting for nothing if it was up to me. What? It would be demon time 24/7 if you gave Sugar Free a goddamn time machine. Okay? We'd never have a dull moment in boxing if it were up to me. Now, let's get on to this next one. Let me take a sip of my tea before I go. Okay. Now, when I think about the future of boxing, you guys, like I said, I think about it being passed on into good hands, right? Somebody being able to carry it forward, to sustain the weight and the burden that it brings with grace, with a level of grace, with a level of tenacity and will to push through no matter what. I can't say that I can confidently place my faith in the heavyweight division in the hands of Richard Torres, at least not at this particular juncture. He is not shown where he is ready to claim that. But there is a beautiful young fighter who I place nearly all of my faith in at this particular point in his young life and in his young career. And that person is the young king, the young lion, Abdullah Mason. Abdullah Mason. When we talk about the confidence in putting our trust in a fighter, in a warrior, in somebody that we believe can do right by the sport that we love, in the name and in the style and in the legacy and acclaim of those great giants that we know and love, put some respect on Abdullah Mason's name. 100%. He is the future of boxing. He's the future of boxing. And I say that with all the fire that I can. He's the future of boxing. That is what it looks like. He is the person that I can be confident in. I can be confident in him. Because when he steps on that battlefield, Lord have mercy. Where's my guy? I got to dab my forehead like a pastor, y'all. Don't have me preaching up in here now. It is Sunday after goddamn all. What? I can be confident in that young brother. In that beautiful young brother who celebrated his 21st birthday yesterday and claimed a victory on his birthday. What? What? The potential of this beautiful king is astounding, is resounding. I cannot wait to see him continue to progress in the sport and to tackle all that's ahead of him with 10 toes. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. That's what giving you a reason to be confident in the future looks like. Take a look at Abdullah Mason. Okay? Last night, the beautiful brother fought his first 10-rounder against Ornelius. I think that's how you say it. Ornelius. All right? And he defeated him in a dominant, beautiful performance. Okay? And did it on his birthday, as aforementioned. Happy birthday to this beautiful young lion. Abdullah Mason landed a 6-round TKO victory, you guys. Okay? Now, in the initial rounds, Abdullah took his time with his assault. He wanted to slowly enjoy his food. Okay? Beautiful jab, beautiful left hooks, uppercuts with precision, and every bit of bad intention behind them. This is a young man with the future of the sport in his hands. All right? Now, in the second round, Abdullah threw a left hook that was absolutely devastating and demolishing to Ornelas. That damn hook was quick. It was sharp. That thing was so fast. Ornelas, his body didn't even get the message that he was caught. His body didn't even know that he was touched up like that. He had a delayed reaction in touching that canvas and taking a knee. The fourth round progressed, and so did Mason's goddamn onslaught. In that fourth round, he had applied pressure that was just, seemingly able to tear through Ornelius. He could touch him up and destroy him at will, is what it seemed like. That man was surviving in that ring as best he could. Right? There was a moment where he had him on the ropes, I think, in that fourth round, and he was letting them things go. He caught him again with a devastating left hook amid some other shots that sent Ornelius once again to the canvas. Man had to go down. Couldn't deal with it. Then Mason sent his ass to the ground again in the sixth round. And ultimately, the ref had to stop it after, of course, observing a cut that he had received. And just in overall viewing his body language, that referee said, this is it. He waved the fight off. I mean, just a wonderful, masterful boxing class. I loved it. I loved seeing his boxing class that he put on. Wonderful. Right? I think his timing was great. His eyes were on point. He could see his shots. He could see the shots coming at him. Right? Mason moved with fluidity in the ring. He didn't look stiff. Nothing looked stuck. He looked great to me, right? And of course, he will only get better and better. And because they've been keeping him so active, every time you see him, he looks better and better. Shout out to the beautiful young warrior for a fantastic victory and a beautiful birthday gift, might I add, right? Ain't that a fabulous birthday gift? Wonderful, right? Now, I think in a post interview with Mason, Abdullah made it clear once again that a title shot is what he is aiming for before the year is out, you guys. He said it again. He is not playing. He said it several times in the past. He's saying it again upon another victory post-fight, right? I love that type of adamance. That's what I like to see. Persistence and focus, right? I'm wondering what Bob Arum intends to do with this persistence that he has about, getting his title shot. Is he going to honor the young lion's wishes? What do you guys think? I'd love to see Mason against Keyshawn goddamn Davis. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I think that's one of the best fights to make at 135. If I'm not, mistaken. And I definitely don't think I'm mistaken. I'm sure that you guys can all agree with that is one of the best fights to make at 135. What? Keyshawn and Mason? That's the fight to make to me for Keyshawn at this point. You know what I'm saying? If he couldn't get his hands on Lomachenko, and I don't think that Tank Davis is going to entertain that, right? So why not fight Abdullah Mason? Keyshawn, of course, just won his title against Baranchyk. Keyshawn has 13 fights. Abdullah has 18 fights. Nah, it's time to get this cracking for sure. Let's get it cracking. Let's get this cracking. What's up? What's popping? I see no viable reason why this fight can't or should not be the title fight to set up before the year is out the way Mason is positing, right? This is the one to me. Not only is it a great way for Abdullah to show and prove against a newly crowned champion, right? But it's going to be a testament to seeing if Keyshawn is able to carry the crown of being a champion by having to defend it against the likes of somebody like Mason, who is a young lion just like himself. Facts or no? Facts or no? This is where men are made, y'all. This is where they're made, right? Abdullah will certainly not be the, virtual sitting duck that Baranchyk was. That's for goddamn sure, right? He's not going to be that sitting duck that Baranchyk was in that ring. Nah, he's coming to eat. Oh, he's definitely coming to eat, right? He got the forks and the knives ready, baby. That's what I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see that. He's got everything to prove, and so does Keyshawn, right? So this is the beautiful battleground that can be set up to establish that type of exchange and pressure between them. I think that this makes for a noteworthy fight in every degree that one can imagine, right? And I definitely don't hold the perspective that it's quote unquote too soon. Oh, it's too soon for them to fight. Abdullah is just a prospect. He's so young. The man is goddamn 21 years old. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Devin Haney a champion by the time he was 21 years old? These narratives, get spun around, and I don't think people really understand what it is that they are saying. Because I come across as, he's so young, he's just still a prospect or whatever. Like, miss me with it. Wasn't Mike Tyson a goddamn champion at 18, 19, 20, 21? You know what I mean? Let this man eat. Let him step up and prove himself. And let Keyshawn prove himself as a champion. Because if you with it, and if you the king, you got to defend the throne. That's just how it works. You got to defend the turf and the territory. You don't get a crown and sit pretty. There's work to do. There's business to handle, right? So I definitely love to see the fight. I don't think it's too soon at all, right? If Lomachenko, just think about it like this. If Lomachenko got his motherfucking first title shot in his, second or third fight, then Abdullah Mason can do it in 18 fights or above. Okay? All right? Miss me with the bullshit. Now, if these men consider themselves to be the best in their division, then they need to meet. End of story. And if by chance, they move in the future, let's say, they move on into other weight classes and they meet each other again and supremacy has to be deemed between them again, then let them fight again down the line. But that doesn't mean that they should not fight now. Okay? How many times have the greats faced each other throughout time? Right? It's nothing new to fight now and fight again later. If that's what the cards hold, right? So let them eat. This is open field. This is open season. No sword is set for life after only being sharpened one goddamn time. That's just not how things work. That's not how life works. You've got to keep it sharp. The more you use it, the more sharpening it's going to demand, right? So that it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing dialogue, right? And that dialogue states that work is never done, pretty much, is what the analogy can be drawn from that, sword concept, right? The analogy is that the work is never done. The sharpening is continuous. Growth is never done. Improvement is never done. It's an ongoing thing, just like time, just like breathing, right? It never stops. It must continue. So this is the mindset that I would like to see. Abdullah Mason, Keyshawn Davis, definitely both are beautiful young kings, and they stand to take the sport further into the future. You know what I'm saying? These are two men with powerful positions, as I mentioned last week about Devin being a young fighter, being in a powerful position, being a young fighter, right? Is that you have the seed of the future within you. The progress of the sport lies within you, right? And so the development of these young men is imperative, absolutely imperative. And that is where their power lies as young fighters, especially young elite Black fighters, right? We want to see that continuation of that beautiful Black American legacy in the sport. That's what we want to see. We want to see that carried through and forward and forward. That's what we want to see. That's what we have to uphold. Okay. And so I look at Abdullah, and when I think about the 135 division, I'm like, wow, you know what I'm saying? A lot of my heat and steam, and a lot of the reasons why I hold on to 135, because y'all already know that I have been so through with 135. Y'all heard me rant and rave about 135, complain about 135, Red Light Special Davis just driving me up the goddamn wall. Shakur Stevenson, oh my God. All the malarkey that we've seen. I mean, you guys have heard me, about it all. But honestly, when I look at the beautiful young lion, Abdullah Mason, he is essentially a huge reason, why I cling to that division, because I am looking out at him. I'm looking out for him. Beautiful young fighter. You know what I'm saying? And now that Keyshawn has claimed his place in a sense of supremacy, now that he has become champion, of course, he is carrying the sport forward as well. In addition to the other young brothers and all these brothers, I'm saying? I'm interested in them, and I put a lot of weight and severity on them because I want them to claim space. I want them to claim supremacy, and I want them to be unapologetic about how they go about doing it. And I want to see them succeed. So shout out to the beautiful young lion, Abdullah Mason, for a fantastic, beautiful victory. I cannot wait to see what's coming up next for him. And I hope that he gets the title shot that he is asking for and the smoke that he is calling for. All right. And I think that the perfect title shot to make is the fight between he and Keyshawn Davis, right? What y'all think about that? Let me check in with my people. Them. Let's see. Oh my God. Y'all talking back and forth. Okay. Yes, indeed, you guys. The heavyweight division. Oh, I already read that. Sorry, I went up too far. Salute to the King, Steph Brown, in the building. Salute. Nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Twin says, I don't trust Bob Arum. He tends to stagnate black fighters once they get close to the top. I mean, He tell them what they like to hear, and then, keep them, tied with one ankle to the goddamn, post, it seems. You have the illusion of freedom until you step out too far and you realize your ankle is tied to the damn table. I don't know what's going on with that. But hopefully, I know that Abdullah's family is very closely linked in his father. So hopefully they are keeping an eye out on Bob Arum and keeping the pressure up where it needs to be applied as far as making sure that he gets what he is asking for. Right? So hopefully they have that together and they don't allow themselves to be stifled by those false promises or those tendencies of Bob Arum. Coach Hudson says Linares would be a great fight for Mason. Gee, that would be a good fight for Mason. Excellent analysis, Coach Hudson. Yeah, I think that would be a good fight. For sure. Salute to the King, Rodney. I see you in the building. He says salute to Sugar Free in the chat. Nice to see you, King. Thanks for joining. Hey, King Forever. I see you in the building. What's up, King? Thank you for coming. Coach Hudson says Mason is gonna be a problem. He said, all I got is my biological brothers. I'm not friends with nobody. Shots fired. Oh my God. I loved when he said that. I think I did a live on that some time ago, shedding light on the mindset of that. That's right. He says, listen, only people I ain't fighting is my blood brothers, baby. Everybody else can get it on some AB shit. I was like, let's go. That's the type of language I want to hear. Ain't no friends over here. Let's get it popping. What's up? You say you're the best? Prove it. Ain't that the type of time we here for? We're here for that type of time. What else are we doing it for? So let's get on to the next thing, you guys. Tim Tszyu. Now, hold on. I gotta sip before I even go into this. Shout out to Tim Tszyu. He won his fight. You know what I mean? Congrats to, him on the win. But I did notice, you guys, that there's a bit of a wave that seems to be, going across certain social media pages or whatever. And I can't say that it is widespread, like that. But I have come across it, several times earlier in the day. And it's a mood that is one of exaltation. Okay, there's an exaltation from the pages that I've come across of Tim Tszyu because he got a victory. Okay, so after his victory over Joey Spence last evening, right? People are in a very exalting mood. Okay. They're giving him a type of, resplendent, kingly, crowning, if you will. I'm not trying to shit on the man, Tim. You know what I mean? Like I said, congrats to him. But I can't front y'all. Something, when I came across those posts from people and the perspectives I come across, something about it was bothersome to me. About the celebratory mood of these posts. Something was bothersome to me in seeing that. Okay? And I just, I had to sit with myself like, what are these people, are they good? Are they okay? Like, I get it or whatever, but I don't know. Something about it was overly celebratory to me, at least. Right? Did anybody else get that feeling or come across, these posts? Oh, Tim Tszyu, he's back. Oh, look at him go. Come on, Timmy. Look at you now. He's back with a vengeance now. Look at the sun shining on Tim Tszyu. You know what I mean? Something about that was quarrelsome to me, in a way. You know what I'm saying? Now, I will say this. It's always good to see a fighter score a victory, right? After coming off a defeat. Absolutely beautiful. That one can get their bearings together and establish, a level of dominance enough to land a victory. 100% always on board with seeing somebody reclaim their space, right? I get all of the desire that people have to instill, I suppose, a level of confidence in him and wanting to resurrect his spirit, so to speak, right? In giving him the confidence, oh, Timmy, he's back type of, you understand? Right? But, I just don't know. Like, I'd like to see a little bit more. I'd like to see a little bit more before I can gauge if he's back the way people are claiming. You know what I mean? Like, the way I'm seeing people claim, I need to gauge a little bit more in order for me to go to that extent as far as Tim Tszyu is concerned. He was defeated against Fundora, right? Bakaram nullified him, right? Those are two serious competitors. So it's not to say that, he was fighting some journeymen. He got taken out down by some serious competitors. Joey Spencer is not that. Let's just keep it a buck. You know what I mean? Joey Spencer is not that. Joey is nowhere near the caliber of fighter as Fundora or Bakaram. He just isn't, right? Whether you like him or not, whether you want to, give credence to Joey for, his run in boxing, whatever or not, he's just not on that level to me. Tim Tszyu was swallowing that man whole. You understand? Pause. But he was just devouring that man, okay? He was just throwing a massive punches. He was beating that man all upside the head with a flurry of punches. Joey had no defense whatever. You know what I'm saying? He virtually had no defense for Tim Tszyu. And then, I see people on social, he was a sitting duck. Then I see people on social media posting, that they want to see Tim Tszyu versus Keith Thurman next, right? And, I don't want to see him fight Keith Thurman next, if I'm being honest. You know what I mean? I think that I don't know. I can't say that. I can say that, but I'll say this. I understand, if Keith Thurman wants to, take that fight, okay, go hunting. I'm never going to get in between a man and his kill. Go ahead and take care of business, right? Because we all know that Keith Thurman could sell the hell out of a damn fight, right? The way he was selling it in the fight that they had, that they were supposed to have last March, I believe. Keith Thurman is going to sell the shit out of that damn fight. So it's definitely going to be fun to watch the spectacle that he creates of the promo, right? Keith can sell a fight better than a thief sells snake oil, y'all. All right, that man got the gift of the gab. He likes to talk his shit. So it's definitely going to be funny as hell watching that build up. And of course, they definitely have, the aspect of that unfinished business between them. Of course, when Keith Thurman had to pull out of their originally scheduled fight due to an injury. And of course, that's why Tim Tszyu ended up fighting Fundora. He was actually supposed to fight Keith Thurman. But Keith Thurman, of course, pulled out because of the injury, so they have that bit of, history that they need to settle, I guess, between them. But real talk, what I'd really like to see is if Tim Tszyu will have the heart to get his lick back against Bakaram. You know what I mean? Like, imagine that as a comeback, right? I think that would be a fantastic means of coming back. That's a hell of a statement to make to me, or at least it's a hell of an attempt to make, right? To get it back. Is he interested in that? I wonder, right? Because if he is not interested in getting that lick back against Bakaram, and if his team isn't interested in getting that set up for him, then I think that says all I need to know as far as Tim Tszyu is concerned. Another thing is, why isn't the boxing world calling for Tim Tszyu to get his goddamn lick back, quote unquote? Why didn't they ask him for it? Wasn't he unable to evade and avoid Bakaram's offense and barrage of assaults in that fight that they had? Has anybody heard, claims of calling for him to, quote unquote, get it back in blood? Anybody asking Tim Tszyu to get it back in blood? I didn't hear any goddamn demands. Right? I heard no demands that he ought to, quote unquote, prove himself to the man who put him on the canvas. I haven't heard that. I mean, shouldn't we be asking for that after witnessing how devastatingly he was taken out in that fight? Shouldn't, Tim Tszyu get his lick back? Should he not? What of the onus that we put on other fighters? What became of it? Does he not have something to prove to the man who gave him his second loss in a row? All of a sudden, I'm hearing exclamations of, he's back, right? Yet nobody is calling for the smoke for the Bakaram rematch. Back where? Where is he back to? Against Joey Spencer. No shade to him because, that's who was in front of him, whatever. But, I'm just real talk. You know what I mean? Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic that nobody is calling for him to get it back in blood? Or perhaps it isn't so ironic for those of us who peep game, right? Funny. Anyway, congrats to Tim Tszyu on the victory. I'm on to the next one, that one, right? Leave that one where it is. Now, let's get to this. Things have been quiet. Things have been mighty quiet around a fight. mighty quiet around a fight that holds the weight and significance of everything that ought to make this a standout fight. Everything that ought to make the anticipation replete, thick for this fight. But there's been nothing but silence around it, right? Silence around a fight that holds the first unification within the 147 division since Earl Spence claimed territory there and began tying up loose ends, of course, until meeting Bud Crawford, that is, right? 147, the welterweight division, is going to have its first unification bout since the exiting of the two kings, Earl Spence and Bud Crawford. Why is it so silent? Why is it silent about this fight? This is a pretty big deal for the welterweight division. And Boots is the man on the job, right? We talk about Boots Ennis, one of the most prized and coveted young fighters in the sport, right? Isn't that what he is? Isn't that what he was just a year ago? Year and a half ago? Prized and coveted young fighter? Or am I tripping? Shouldn't the boxing world be more fervent about this matchup this Saturday? Because the fight is this week. Is it me, or have things been awfully quiet surrounding this unification? I know I'm not tripping, y'all. Okay? Y'all heard the crickets and saw the tumbleweeds across the floor as far as this fight goes. Okay? Now, apparently Boots has been put on the agenda list of boxing media, you guys. And you know, because I've pointed this out before. For whatever reason, he has fallen out of their graces. Now, for the last 8 or so months, particularly since his matchup against Karen back in November, he received some major criticism around his performance, right? Some of it came from people who want to see better of him, like myself and some other beautiful brothers and sisters in here today who may have peeped some things that we want to see him work on, right? Criticism that came from believing in his skill set and wanting to see him sharpen those tools. But much of it, on the other hand, came by way of those who take issue with the black elite fight style dominating within a division. Much of his hate from this particular crowd foolishly centered around the fact that because he did not get a knockout, that he is somehow chopped liver. And this happened virtually overnight. Once on everybody's, praise, virtually overnight, he's thrown in the trash can all of a sudden. Ain't that funny how that works? They love you real good for 5 minutes. Then all of a sudden, they go limp. They go limp for you. Ain't that how it works with a lot of black elite fighters? What happened to the good loving? You can't keep up? What's popping? Pause for all the men in the house, right? But what's good here? Suddenly, the once feared name at 147 instantly was left open to castigation and unwarranted renunciation, in my view. Unwarranted renunciation. I don't think it was, warranted at all. Okay? So we see once again the boxing landscape that attempts to leave yet another elite black male destituted and disregarded within the public media and the public parlance, right? He is castigated, destituted, and disregarded for going the distance. Going the distance. This is where the center of his criticism was. Coming off of the back of that fight. Oh, he went 12 rounds. Oh, well, he didn't knock him out. Even though Boots was plenty dominant in that fight. Now, I could have sworn that George Kambosos just had a fight where he went the distance with a man that he didn't even prepare for. Did anybody berate him because of it? Were his abilities as a fighter questioned? I don't think so, right? So that there is a constant theme at hand, which always I intend to call out. Whenever it rears its ugly head, I will be sure to call it out, right? This public lynching of the elite black fighter being instantly cast aside if they do not for a moment turn water into wine in the eyes of these types of people who are putting this castigation out there. Boots put on a dominant performance, and Karen came through as he should have. Ready, aggressive, sharp, and hungry, right? He changed up his game plan, Karen. He showed effectiveness against Boots. He didn't take the same route that he took in the initial fight. Isn't that what a fighter is supposed to do in a rematch? Switch up the goddamn game plan, try something else that you think is going to be effective against your opponent. He's a warrior, is he not? He did what he had to do. You make adjustments, you learn your lessons from the past, and you come harder the next round. What the fuck did they want Karen to do? Come in there tying his goddamn shoes? Not being able to move? Painting his nails, sipping lemonade? No, he came to win. He brought a competitive fight to Boots. Yes, he did. And what did Boots do in that fight? He overcame him. Yes, it was gritty. Okay. Yes, there were some exchanges. Okay. But both men were in there to get it and to prove themselves. What's the problem? Now, I will say this regarding the critique as far as people like, myself or, people who are not trying to disavow senselessly Boots Ennis. I will say this regarding that particular type of critique who are genuinely looking into his performance for the betterment of him, right? I definitely tend to agree with some of the perspectives that I've heard. Some people felt that Boots in that fight, people of logic I'm talking about now, right? Us, right? A lot of us felt that Boots was getting touched way too much by shots that he should have been more apt at evading, right? We want to see him exercising that beautiful skill set that we love. We want to see him utilizing his feet, right? To box smart in order to avoid unnecessary infliction. That's what we want to see. Okay, we know that he can do it, and so we want him to use it and put those tools on the table, right? So in that fight, Boots seemed like he came to bang. That's just what he wanted to do that night. That's what it looked like to me, at least, which I definitely respect, right? I respect that type of resolve, but he also cannot get loose or thoughtless about the person who is in front of him in battle. He cannot be forgetful that he is in battle. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you are beautiful. Yes, you are talented. Yes, you can run the gamut on all of your gifts and abilities, but do not for 1 second take your eye off the ball and think that you're just going to walk through because of your gifts as if the other person isn't walking in with their own skill set and tools as well, as Karen proved that night, okay? That he wasn't just coming to play hopscotch with you, right? So I think that Karen proved Boots wrong in this fight for assuming that he should expect to get what he got in their first meeting, right? I think that's one of the things that we can critique honestly, that can help, or that we would assume that Boots can take for himself moving forward and learning that lesson as he proceeds into his next fights. Boots likely prepared, it seemed in my view, he prepared for a Karen that he met in their first exchange, while Karen's objective was to absolutely divert from and step away from what he saw in the first fight. He wanted to do the complete opposite of what he did with Boots in the first fight. And it was effective, right? As we said. Now, For this fight with Stanionis, I want to see the lessons learned, not only from the Karen fight, but from his whole entire boxing life. I want to see the lessons on deck. I want to see the expertise and the mastery that I know that resides within Boots. That's what I want to see. I want to see more use of his jab, that beautiful jab. I want to see him set up his shots with that jab. Okay? Stanionis is a more vicious opponent than Karen. I will say that. Okay? Karen was vicious in that second fight. But Stanionis is, you know what I mean? He's a beast. He's definitely a beast. He got those left hooks. He makes good use of his jab, and he is not at all reticent about exchanging. He likes to fight close. He likes to go to the body. This is a warrior in front of you, Boots. Okay? Don't take him lightly. He is definitely not something to take lightly. You got to be on guard with this man, Stanionis. He's a good fighter. Okay? It's definitely going to be super interesting to see what Boots does with this type of onslaught and arsenal that Stanionis is presenting with, right? I think Boots is certainly capable of being victorious in battle against Stanionis, should he remain smart and sharp on his tools and on his foundations, okay? So I just want to see him make use of those things that we know and love him for and not be careless about it. Another interesting dynamic for Boots, I think, going into this fight that I want to see, that I'm interested in seeing, is how he and Bozy are going to operate and coordinate with each other as far as the corner work, right? I think that was another concern that some people had in the fight with Karen. I heard rumblings at that time that the synergy between them was a little bit wayward, okay, a little bit lacking or slacking. Some people felt that Bozy was not being informative enough in the corner. Some people felt that the game plan seemed a little bit lackluster, seemed a little bit loose, didn't really seem to have, a set and clear direction other than just, getting in there and banging and being aggressive. So I think the dynamic between them in the corner is going to be good. Hopefully we'll see a sharpened up version of Boots overall, and hopefully we see some great communication from Bozy and some great direction in that corner. We definitely want to see that communication on. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Definitely a great fight that I look forward to this Saturday. I'm going with the King Boots. Ain't no doubt about that. I'm standing 10 toes with my brother. 10 toes all day with my brother. So we'll see what happens in that fight. Spectacular fight. I definitely am not taking Stanionis lightly. I know he's going to come with that heat and that pressure, and he's coming to war. So I think this is going to be a great representation of Boots's maturity level, right? And I think it's going to really show us and events for us the level that he is going to be able to get to as he steps up in competition with people like your Brian Normans. And let's say, even if he ventures into 154, when he fights the likes of Virgil Ortiz. I'm not sure if you guys saw in a recent clip that was going around on Twitter, at least, he was asked in an interview by somebody from DAZN, a woman who was interviewing him, about if he is still interested in that Ortiz fight. I heard some other rumblings over the past few days with mentions of Ortiz's name with Boots and stuff like that. So people are there's still a little bit of buzz being generated about him and Virgil Ortiz at 54. So we'll see what happens. But I think that the Stanionis fight poses or will pose a glimpse into if he'll be able to hang with the likes of Virgil Ortiz, who is a fantastic fighter and another one of my the fighters that I really, really like right now. So yeah, this we're going to see what we need to see in this fight on Saturday. And I'm expecting nothing less than for Boots to show up and show out the right way with education all over him. I want to see mastery. Okay? That's what I'm expecting to see. Let me see what my people are saying. Who y'all got, of course, in that fight? I know all my people here got Boots. But anybody here feels that, not to speak anything that we don't want into existence, but does anybody feel that Boots can't supersede the likes of Stanionis? Does anybody see Stanionis' skill set being on par with that of Boots? Or do you think that Boots can easily overcome Stanionis? What do you guys think? Hey, King Freedom, nice to see you. Salute to you. Thank you for coming. The beautiful sister Bella Faith is in the building. Salute to you, beautiful sis. And thank you so much for joining me this evening. I really appreciate you, sis. She says, going the distance and getting a knockdown. Okay. Facts, beautiful. Hey, JL, nice to see you. He says, Mason looking like a great prospect. You better put some respect on Abdullah's name, okay? Okay? Check the temperature of the room, JL, before you say something like that on Sugar Free Space, okay? Because I'm an avid supporter of Abdullah Mason. Please check the temperature of the room. Don't play with me about my Mason, all right? Before you don't want me to get at you, son, for real. I'm just kidding, JL. Let's see what else. Twin says, the only logical critique I heard was his defense. Yeah, facts. Everything else was just absolute, trying to shred him apart. It was all, to censure him. It was not for anything else. They were just looking for ways to, I really do believe that they come up with these narratives for the elite black male, to limit his effect. Like I always say time and time again, I think we even spoke about this last week, you guys, and the previous week as well, that these narratives tend to want to shred down or cut down. Oh, there's a little bird on my windowsill. So cute. Nice omen. But anyway, he's just chilling right there on my fire escape. But anyway, he's like, Sugar Free, you talking boxing? Oh my God. And he brought a friend, child. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I think that language is to limit the effectiveness because they really do fear, which I'm going to make a video about. They really do fear crowning and solidifying the elite black male in this era. So, they have flashbacks of the days of Tyson. They have flashbacks of the days of, who else was it? Your Holyfields. Okay. They don't want another Hagler, Sugar Ray, Four Kings type of thing where it's superseded by black dominance, black excellence. I really do feel that there is a fear, of that recurring within this era. And so that they create narratives that essentially, aim to brainwash the public to disavow them. You know what I mean? And it's so easy to do that in this social media era where gossip is the focal point. It isn't facts. It isn't the heart of boxing. It isn't the love of the sport. It's about headlines and clickbait and gossip and sassy shit. You know what I mean? Which is wild to me. Very, very wild to me. But I have a content video that I'm working on about the fear of crowning, the next elite black male, for sure. And it's a conversation that you guys know that I speak about very, very frequently. But it's definitely a real thing. The King Hudson says he got to be smart with Norman Jr. You ain't never lie, King. Okay? Because if Stanionis is somebody that he got to make sure that he's on guard for, who we already know is not coming to play, what the hell do you think is going to be the case with B. Norman in the ring in front of him? Okay? And that's a fight that absolutely has to happen. That Brian Norman fight before Boots exits and tries to touch upon 154. If he doesn't become undisputed, let's say for whatever reason, he abandons his desire to be undisputed, he at least has to fight Brian Norman before he ventures into 154 territory. You know what I mean? The great Mike says Norman definitely needs the winner. Barrios can wait. Facts. Absolute facts, great Mike. Oh, we got some super chat, y'all. Hold up. I'm seeing a whole lot of goddamn color. Wait, hold up. Let me scroll the hell up. Because y'all know I be talking my shit. Salute to anybody in the building, by the way, who I may have missed. I'm scrolling a ways up because I see that I have missed quite a few people. Salute to everybody. Oh my God, we got the King BFTB in the building. Yes, King. He says, listening to the goddess is everything. Oh my God, please don't have me blushing up in here like you did last time. Salute to the great King and beautiful King BFTB. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. We got a super chat from the King BFTB. Thank you, King. I appreciate you. He says, so happy and proud of your growth. Oh my God. Hold up. Let me get myself together because I'm blushing. I am blushing, y'all. He says, so happy and proud of your growth. You are amazing. Your voice, your voice is everything. Your spirit is flawless. and your talent is unmatched. Love you, goddess. Thank you so much, King. I love you too. Thank you so much, beautiful King. I think I'm going to be blushing and smiling all night now. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you, BF. I really appreciate you. The King, Coach Hudson says, I'm right behind you with my tiki torch and lantern. Call them out. Facts, Coach Hudson. Facts. Absolute facts. We got a beautiful super chat from my beautiful sister, Cameron. Thank you so much for the 20-piece beautiful goddess. She says, appreciate you, sis. Thank you, beautiful sis. Big, big hugs and love to you, beautiful sis. And my twin blessed me in the super chat tonight. He says, just adding some color to the chat. Keep cooking, twin. Thank you, twin. Thank you. And we got the King Freedom in the building. Salute to the King Freedom. He says, salute to you. Hearing that voice perked up makes bros all day. Indeed, Boots is stepping into the big leagues and needs to make strategic adjustments. 1000% King Freedom. And thank you again for joining this evening. I appreciate you being here, King. And my beautiful sister, my big sister, always 10 toes and on deck with your girl, Sugar Free. She says, a little color for the warrior queen with big love. Thank you so much, beautiful sis. My family is in the building, y'all. I am feeling so elated right now. Thank you guys so much for the support of the channel. Thank you for all the constant love that you guys show me. I really do appreciate it. It gives me a surge of confidence, and it keeps me inspired to do what I do. And I'm trying to stand on the shoulders of the beautiful King BFTB and the beautiful King Champside, my two muses. Those are the men who inspired me to even do this boxing thing. So thank you so much, you guys, for your support. I really do appreciate you guys. Can't say it enough. Okay, so that's my thoughts on Boots and his fight. I think it's way too quiet. And, this is a really, really big fight. You know what I'm saying? It was a division that, like I said, since the exit of Earl Spence and, Bud, this is the first unification within, of significance within ever since the departure of those men. Right. And so I think that there should be a lot more parlance being generated, around this fight. It is a significant fight. It's a significant happening. This isn't light work at all. So, but I think that the silence around it is also constructed, around the example that I gave earlier, because there is a reticence about, cheering for and encouraging the rise of the elite black fighter. It's just something that's rampant in the sport right now in myriad ways. And I think this is an example of that. But either way, I'm showing up 10 goddamn toes for the King Boots. You feel me? And I'm rooting for him to win. And I'm sure all of my real ones here can agree, that we are showing a world of support for our beautiful brother Boots, because we intend to see him rise. We intend to see him establish kingship and fight the likes of the other beautiful king in that division, Brian Norman. Okay? And we want to see the continued rise of he and Brian Norman and all the other beautiful brothers that we back and support, right? So yeah. Now, interesting thing here, you guys, that I wanted to get into with this next segment. So, wasn't I just speaking on the Charlos last week, you guys? I don't know. Sugar Free may have a little bit of foresight, okay? Because it seems like the things that I've been touching on over the past week or so have just been coming into fruition, right? I was just speaking on the Charlos last week. Well, lo and behold, earlier in the week, it was reported that Maul Charlo will be making his return to the ring in May. It's been confirmed. It's official. Maul Charlo making his return to the ring in May. Now, it's said that this card is slated for May 31st, and it will feature him alongside Caleb Plant, except he and Caleb Plant are not fighting. Instead, they're going to each be facing their own respective opponents, right? But I still think this is quite a big deal, you guys, right? As we know that Charlo and Caleb Plant have quite the score to settle, coming off of the infamous drama between them and the infamous slap that left all of us stunned and amazed about a year ago. Facts or no, right? Caleb and Charlo are both facing opponents that I think that they should easily, I can't say easily, but that I'm expecting them to get past. And it's said that should they both get past their respective opponents, they're going to have a fight set up for them between the two men in the fall. In the fall. This fall. So should they be victorious in facing their opponents, there is a fight that is on the horizon for them sometime in the fall. I think this is fantastic news. What do you guys think? Fantastic news. Fantastic news. I think that this fight, I think it goes without saying, real talk, that this is way overdue. Okay? This fight is overdue. I think that this fight should have been something that materialized, mid last year and, end of last year, or whatever the case is. I don't think that it should have waited this long, something like a year and a half after, the incident of the slap. But I do think that it's great to hear that there is a plan in action to finally bring this matchup into fruition, right? That damn slap occurred like 2 years ago, y'all. You feel me? Now, what was crazy was that we heard nothing from Charlo regarding that incident immediately after it happened. Okay? Charlo virtually went ghost, y'all, after that damn slap. Now, we did see Caleb Plant go on record and speak a little bit about it. And I believe that he had cited that that confrontation stemmed from Charlo being out of pocket, in some type of way, that he had addressed his wife, Jordan, in a particular way that he was not liking. He also stated that Maul had put hands on his beard, was pulling and tugging at his beard or something like that. Wild work, you guys. Nasty work. What? Now, whatever the case may have been, I think that we could all anticipate that this is going to be a hell of a fight whenever it does get underway. I am expecting fireworks, you guys, because I know that goddamn Maul Charlo is fiery as hell, and we already know Caleb Plant is a mean motherfucker when he want to be. Okay? In and out of that ring. That man don't play no games. He's just like that, Caleb Plant. So, I think this is a fantastic matchup. Even before the slap happened, real talk, 2 years ago, I always felt that this fight was worthy. I always wanted to see this fight. You know what I mean? And so here it is. If it's like the slap was just meant to happen to finally unite these two men at last in the ring. Now, Maul Charlo has been out of the ring, I want to say, for about, how long Maul been out of the ring, y'all? God damn. He's been out of the ring for quite some time. I want to say something like a year and a half, something like that. This fight in May is definitely going to be a good way to get him reacclimated, right? And suited for what is going to be one of his biggest and most anticipated fights of his career, right? I can certainly say that the Caleb Plant fight will definitely be one of the most anticipated fights, because I don't think there's a soul in the boxing world who did not come across that goddamn slap video. And you already know that the promotion for that fight is going to be surrounding that slap. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Is he going to be able to retaliate? They're going to bring up the slap in the pressers. They're going to, reference it in their interviews, in their one-on-one interviews or whatever have you. They may actually be able to get to argue it out on stage before the fight actually commences. So it's certainly going to be a centerpiece for the buildup of the fight. So it's going to garner a level of anticipation, probably beyond what Charlo knows. I know it's not always good because he's on the receiving end. He was on the receiving end of the slap, and maybe that'll conjure up some old memories that he does not want to, be within or whatever. But hopefully he uses that energy as fuel to get the victory against Plant should they meet in the fall. Now, I'm not familiar with the opponent that Maul is going to be facing in May, real talk. I don't even know who the fuck Caleb Plant is facing. I don't know his opponent. Y'all know his opponent? I have no idea. I think his name is Thomas Resendiz, something like that. Thomas Resendiz. Ciao. I can't even sit up here and cap like I know who the hell that is, y'all. I really can't. I really can't even cap. I tried to like be cute and be like, oh, he's fighting. Nah, I don't know who the fuck that is. He fighting who? Whose cousin, friend, neighbor is that? I have no idea. Who that dude is. But I definitely want to see Maul make a meal of him. That I do know. Caleb Plant is facing, I think his opponent's name is Jose. I don't know. I really don't know, y'all. All I do know is that it's another name that is foreign to me. But of course, just like Maul, I'm expecting Plant to handle business properly on the night of the fight. Now, I've definitely heard some rumblings, you guys. Let me know what you guys think. I've heard some rumblings, surrounding the way in which this fight is being gone about, right? I can't say that I agree with it, but I figured I'd share with you. Now, I heard some rumblings of angst about, the fact that these two men are not fighting right now. Okay? Oh, they're not fighting now. Why they got to go through, the opponent in order to just get it cracking later in the fall? Listen, there is such a thing as, reigniting the memory and the spark within the boxing world. I can't say that, we've completely forgotten about that slap. When we think about Charlo's name or we think about Caleb's name, right? Because the slap was ingrained in our minds. We've seen that damn clip, I don't know how many goddamn times across social media, right? It's not like we were forgetful, but let's not forget that it has been 2 years that has passed, right? And if you want to make good money, you build up a good level of anticipation surrounding the controversy that caught all of our attention, okay? And so I think, I don't have any qualm or quarrel with reigniting, the memory for those of, the people out there who may have forgotten about that or who may have turned away from it and been distracted by everything else that's been going on in boxing for the past 2 years. Nothing wrong with, reigniting that spark. Okay. I definitely don't see an issue with it at all. Do people expect Maul to get in there also, cold? Like, what do you want him to do? The man's been out of the ring for over a year. I want to say something like a year and a half. You want him to get in there goddamn cold? You know what I'm saying? Now, I know we've seen it before, right? Where we got people in there, saying, I don't want tune-ups or whatever. If you take that Earl mentality and stuff like that, which I salute, you know what I'm saying? Whenever it can be done, if you're on that type of time, by all means, you know what I'm saying? But, Maul hasn't only been laid off for a year and a half, but he's also had a world of personal issues and troubles and turmoil in his personal life, in his mental health, in his personal relationships, and I'm sure a slew of other things, that he's had to get in order. Okay, for heaven's sake, we saw the man crashing out, drunk, talking to goddamn Andrade on that goddamn live. You know what I'm saying? I think Champ Side brought that up the other day in his live. He showed that clip where Andrade and Jamal were talking and goddamn Jamal was lit out of his goddamn mind. His afro was to the side. Ooh, chow. You know what I'm saying? This is the Maul that we are talking about. God bless his heart. Okay? He's somebody that's coming off of, probably all types of issues that we do not know about, in addition to the ones that were made a little bit public concerning his wife, and I believe a battle for his children or whatever, which I never get into because I keeps it boxing. Those people's personal lives are their own personal lives, okay? This is not a gossip channel. But, we are privy to that information, or have been, at least to some degree, made privy of his personal struggles. So, he has to get acclimated once again. And he did look good fighting Jose Benavidez, which was his last fight that he had that year and a half ago. He looked wonderful. And prior to that fight, he was out of the ring for some time too, but he stepped into that ring. He and, Ronnie Shields, excuse me. I'm thinking about D. James. Ronnie Shields, they had a wonderful synergy. You know what I'm saying? Ronnie was doing his thing in the corner, and Maul looked absolutely fabulous against Jose Benavidez and stuff like that. So he put on a dominant performance, especially after having been out of the ring prior to that for so long a time. But, he needs that again. You know what I'm saying? So let him do what he needs to do. What's the problem? Let him warm up. Let him get acclimated. Let him adjust to the battlefield, because he is not, going in there to fight some simp when he is fighting Caleb Plant, he better make sure he's goddamn ready for some goddamn Caleb Plant. And Caleb Plant better make sure he's goddamn ready for some more Charlo. All right? Plus, I think it's great motivation for them, to do it this way because it keeps their eye, what? On the target. I think it's a great way to keep a fighter's eye on the target. It builds hunger, right? Now, we've seen way too much entitlement in boxing, you guys. What's wrong with having to earn your spot? Oh, yeah? You say you want Charlo's head? You want to slap him around the ring even worse than you did in that arena? All right, get through this opponent and you get to do that. And now as far as Maul, they're probably saying to him, oh, you want to get all your licks back against that slap you received? All right, get through this dude and Caleb Plant is food for you. What better motivation can you have than that? All right, I'm going to get through this person and I'm going to get you. I don't have no problem with that. It's like tournament style. Okay? Tournament style is like, reminiscent of the days before people started assuming this diva mentality that we see going around and inundating the sport. Right? Let them do what they got to do. I think it should be nothing but motivation for a fighter to know that once they get through the opponent in front of them, then the one that they really want claim to is just beyond that point. It builds character, it builds hunger, and it builds a fervent fire to get your hands around the neck of the person you're trying to devour. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing them get past their ops so that they can hash out this long-standing beef that they've had once and for all and claim supremacy. Wonderful fight ahead. I can't wait for that fight. So I think that fight card is May 31st. And then after that, we'll hear the date of, the fight announcement between both of them should they be successful. What y'all think about that Charlo fight, y'all? Fantastic fight. Fantastic fight to make with Plant should they be victorious. You know what I mean? Thank you, Great Mike. He says, Queen Sugar Free been the one. You better tell them because they forgot. Salute, King Heru. Nice to see you. I see you, beautiful King, in the building. He says, the Warrior Queen. Blessings to you in the chat. Big blessings to you, King Heru. Thank you for joining. My sister Bella Faith says, SugarFreeMars, you are really doing your thing. Oh, my God. Thank you, sis. Thank you, beautiful sis. I appreciate that so much. Let me know what y'all think about that fight. Twin says, baby mama drama. That will take down the strongest men. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Okay? If your house is in shambles, child, nothing in the world or around you is right. Or at least it'll be that much more of a struggle to maintain a level head. That's for sure. Spiritually, you're just going to be out of whack. You're going to be out of whack, and it's no good for any man to deal with. You know what I mean? Let me get on to this next thing really quickly, you guys. Now, Oscar de la Ho is always fishing for something. Ain't that annoying about this man? Or should I say he's always fish netting for goddamn attention. All right? He came out at some point during the week last week stating that Devin Haney is a shot fighter. Oh, he's a shot fighter. He's done. Hey, did you guys come across that? Now, I think that De La Hoya should be focusing on Ryan at this point. That's where his attention should be. For whatever reason, he cannot keep Devin's name out of his mouth. Pause. Because I'm sure there are probably other things that he wants there to fill space. But anyway, don't worry about what goddamn Devin is doing or what he is or what the hell he isn't. Oscar de la Red Bottom. What is wrong with this man? I know that you pray to your Lord of fishnets above. Your great Lord of vibrators and high heels. Okay? You are praying that Devin won't be able to shine on the night of May 2nd. Right? You're praying that he will not be victorious and successful in this upcoming fight. But none of that matters. And none of it has weight. Because Devin is going to do what? He's going to show up and he's going to do the goddamn thing. That's what he's going to do. Okay? Whether you want to see it or not. He is going to clean his plate. It is what the fuck it is. Della Red Bottom. I'm tired of this man, y'all. Motherfucker done put a chip on the young king's shoulders. And now, everybody's growing worrisome. Oh, what is he going to do? He shot, y'all. Trying to remind themselves, to keep praying for his downfall. Why are these people so worried? Why are these haters so worried about what Devin is goddamn doing? If he's such a shot fighter, why is he constantly on your thoughts? You know what I mean? Just doing their damnedest to convolute the minds of the boxing public with that type of insecurity, with their own insecurities that they're projecting. Okay? Devin is on his side working. That's all you need to know, is that he is preparing for a fight. All right? What is Riri doing? Shouldn't you be focused on what kind of high heels you want Riri to try on with the outfit that you bought him, Mr. Della Redbottom? Okay? Focus on that. Okay? Shouldn't you be focused on which rouge brings out Ryan's skin tone? Okay? Now, if I'm not mistaken, Riri is facing Rolly. That's who his opponent is. Shouldn't he be focused on that? You feel me? So that the intention always reveals itself. Always. Right? The real intentions of people. He is scared out of his mind of Devin Haney and the resurgence and reemergence and reclamation of Devin Haney. Devin is living all the way rent-free in the minds of these people. And their only way of coping with that, okay, and coming to terms with that is by throwing tantrums and making all types of imbecilic claims across social media about Devin Haney. Oh, he's trash. He's shot. Devin is gone, y'all. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it. Is he okay? Can he be saved? You know what I'm saying? They just looking for anything, to keep themselves dealing with the pain of knowing about the ass whooping that is on their heels. All right. Now, or should I say on their red bottoms? Now, they already know Devin is not coming to play, and so they're just shaking in their goddamn boots. Can't keep his name out of their mouth, right? If he's easy work, okay, no sweat off your brow. Why are you worried about him? Why are you so focused on him? You know what I mean? So I found it to be very funny coming across that earlier in the week. Now, another thing that I found absolutely funny as I was sitting with myself, I'm like, y'all, what if Rolly fucks around and stops Ryan? What if Rolly stops Ryan? Like, that thought just popped up in my head. And I'm like, wouldn't that be something? How brazy, absolutely brazy would that be? Okay? Have you guys watched those two men spar before? I surely have. And it was absolutely, just a mess. It was a while ago. You know what I'm saying? But it was still just, go check it out if you guys haven't ever seen Rolly and Ryan Garcia spar, you guys. I don't know, bro. I think that this fight may be closer than a lot of people anticipate. I think that's definitely very possible. Real talk, their skill set is not really that much far apart. I mean, there's an obvious distance, but it isn't really by a very wide gap, in my view, at least, right? Ryan is definitely a little bit more developed than Rolly, but Ryan has no feet, and his defense is very questionable, okay? Rolly swings, and he throws with bad intentions, even though he swings wildly. He got all types of bad intentions. If he lands something on you, you know what I'm saying, it's good night, quite possibly. Okay, so I think it's going to be an interesting fight to see when those two, like Champ Side said, battle of the messy shirts, battle of the bibs, right? I don't know what to make of that fight, but that thought definitely came to mind. Like, what if this man get taken out by goddamn Rolly, y'all? Perhaps they should stop dick riding and glazing Devin so hard, and maybe perhaps turn a little bit to their left at the man who they're supposed to be fighting on that card on May 2nd. Turn and look at Rolly. Put your focus and attention on him. Okay? Put your focus and attention on that. That's the man you're going to be facing. Because that's how you wanted it. You could have been goddamn facing Devin, but you chose otherwise. You chose to wait. I don't know, maybe possibly to get the rest of that shit that's in your system out, perhaps to gauge how you can fight when you're off the juice. I don't know. But focus on him. Focus on Rolly. Because the only quote unquote shot fighter that I see on this card is Riri. because he is the only one who needed and popped dirty for Ostarine. That's the only shot fighter I see. Maybe he should worry about not taking, any shots of that shit. Talking about shot. Try withholding from taking shots of that fucking PED you love so goddamn much. Yeah, that part. Oscar de la Redbottom is really out of control, y'all. I was just like, bro, go sit down and try on your new set of fishnets and get out my goddamn face. I don't want to see you or hear you. Now, anyway, has anybody noticed that June 2nd is 2 months away? 2 months away. Wasn't the fight with Tank Davis and Lamont Roach projected to be on June 2nd? Then it turned into, June 21st. Either way, you guys, June is 2 months away. We are in the month of April right now. And there is still no word as to if the alleged Tank versus Roach rematch has any validity to take place in June. I mean, everything up until this point has been absolute speculation, you guys. We've got no confirmation whatever from GTD. A fight that is supposedly 2 months away, or allegedly 2 months away. Not a single word about it has been mentioned. Is this fight going to happen, you guys? What's going on? If it's not happening in June, is it something that they intend to push back into the fall, into the late summer? Is it something that's going to happen before the year is out? Is it never going to goddamn happen? What's going on? I really do want to know. The fact that there's no mention about it, that's more odd, than anything else to me. Okay? It's looking very improbable at this point. Way too vague. Way too vague to me. Still. I find it very peculiar to me, you guys. Isn't this the time to be promoting and whetting the palate of the public who are in anticipation for this fight? If you're 2 months away, isn't that the time frame where you begin to generate the buzz, to start the dialogue, to begin the interviews, you know what I'm saying? To begin to waken up the consciousness of the people? I don't get the silence, okay? We automatically, as fight fans, assumed that the rematch would inevitably happen. That's what we assumed. We found it to be inevitable. Okay, this was a draw. All right, so the rematch is going to happen, right? We just knew that it was going to happen in our minds. What's happening now? Nothing. Very weird stuff. How could there not be a rematch after having a draw, you guys? I don't get it. I'd like to think that the rematch is in the works. That's what I'd like to think. But, when I think about the statement that Tank made after the, after the match, he had a post-fight interview. I reflected on that. And I was like, damn, I don't know. Is this fight going to happen? It just, I was just surrounded with a bunch of questions. Do you guys recall the statement that he made? Tank's immediate reaction to the notion of a rematch was that it's not something that he wanted instantly. You guys remember that? It's not something that he wanted immediately. In fact, he said that it may not even be something that happened this year. That was his initial sentiments at the post-fight presser. Those were his sentiments. That it's not even something that would happen this year. They asked him, well, are you going to do the rematch? Whatever it was a draw, you're going to get the rematch? Yeah, maybe, but probably not next. Maybe it won't even happen this year. What? So the fact that that was his initial mindset 5 minutes after the fucking fight was automatically questionable to me. I didn't understand it. And I still don't understand it. A month after the fight materialized, right? Here we are a month after the fight. I'm still asking the same goddamn questions. Why would that man say something like that? Why would he say something like that? Then there, of course, were the rumors about him fighting Jake Paul. And then there was the abstract coded language that he had about who his next opponent would be. And that, my next opponent would be somebody who was in my dressing room. It's the person who visited my dressing room. That's the next opponent. What the fuck is going on, you guys? Who the fuck was the person? Then it was rumored that Jake Paul was in there. Then it was rumored that Pitbull Cruz was in the green room. What? I don't know. It's way too confusing, way too vague, you guys. Okay, and then he wound up coming out on social media after the whole debacle with the New York State Athletic Commission reviewing the knee, reviewing the hair grease and the motherfucking Dax and the Soul Glow incident or whatever. And then, he's saying, oh, well, we can have this fight, we can get it back as early as May. And that's where the assumption came in. Okay, well, the fight is going to take place in May, or the fight is going to take place in June, or whatever have you. We can have this as early as June. And now it's radio silent. What happened? I don't know, you guys. I don't know. But I definitely have my eye peeled on it because I'm looking to see what Tank's move is going to be. Tank Davis has a hell of a goddamn lot to prove coming off of this fight, you guys. I'm not going to let him off goddamn scot-free coming off that goddamn performance with a 130-pounder. I'm keeping my foot all the way on this goddamn fight. And I'm going to keep asking, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Until I see if it happens or not. And if it doesn't happen, I know exactly what to do with Tank Davis. I know exactly of what he is made if he does not make this rematch happen. Excuse me? No, I want to see if this shit is going to materialize. He just received a draw decision, you guys. And the rematch, is the only thing that would set things right as far as he is concerned. It's the only thing that he'd be able to set right. He can't just go skating off to another goddamn fight and leaving that shit unfinished and undone. Doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I don't understand how he would not want to set something like that straight. No one can tell me that that isn't peculiar. The possibility that he may bypass a fight that was left in a draw decision. That's crazy to me. Especially the Get It Back in Blood brigade. Where are those people at? Always calling for somebody to goddamn get it back in blood and telling everybody else to go show and prove, except the people that they want to glaze until their knees start goddamn bleeding. Where's the Get It Back in Blood brigade when it comes to Tank goddamn Davis? Here's another example, just like Tim Tszyu. Shouldn't he be wanting to goddamn get it back in blood? Ciao. All in all, of course, I think that the rematch is worthwhile, in addition to the controversy that it stirred up or whatever. But I just think as a whole, the fight is worthwhile because of the draw decision. There's just no way to bypass that. Tank has a hell of a lot to prove, you guys. He cannot escape that. He cannot escape that at all. So to say, that the fight is necessary is an understatement after that performance that he put on. It goes without saying that the rematch is due to the boxing world. It's due. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks, I suppose. I don't know. What other news or light we can anticipate to get, if any, at all. You know what I mean? There's no doubt that whatever the follow-up is for the fight, it's definitely going to garner an even wider audience than the initial fight. That's for sure. So I don't even see a reason, financially speaking, as well, as to why he would refrain from making this fight happen when it stands to do significant numbers. Because of the controversy surrounding it. Why wouldn't you be jumping at it with both hands? It's weird. Unless you're absolutely dead set on avoiding Roach, which would be crazy work if that's the case on the part of Tank Davis. Imagine Tank Davis completely circumventing the Roach fight to do something like a Jake Paul fight. It's crazy. Real talk, I don't even want to think about something like that. That shit just gives me a headache. Like, what? You would bypass what? I don't get it. That shit would be the weakest display in boxing right now. I couldn't think of anything more weak, more fragile, and pathetic if he did something like that. Can you imagine that? Now there were also talks that, should this fight fall through with Tank Davis and Roach for whatever reason, that there's an opportunity and a possibility for Lamont Roach to fight Shakur Stevenson, right? I heard that over the past few weeks as well. My thing is, if Roach came into the 135 division And his first two fights in that division is him contending with the two most notable names and champions there. My goodness. Every so-called champion should be disgusted with themselves if that is the case. If Lamont Roach could walk in there in his first fight the likes of Tank Davis, and then in his second fight at 135, fight the likes of Shakur Stevenson, oh my God, those people should be ashamed of themselves. That he single-handedly walked in and instantly took on the two kings of that weight class. Meanwhile, they be fucking tap dancing and tiptoeing around each other for fucking years. Oh, child. I'd hate to see it. I mean, it'd be great for Lamont Roach, I guess, to have that acclaim. But as far as the 135 division, the 135 pounders and champions, they should be absolutely ashamed of themselves if this man Lamont Roach, solidifies that within months, taking on the two kings of 135, you guys. God damn. They should run and hide and never see the light of day again. Never be seen in public again. What? Absolutely insane work. Absolutely insane work. They'd never be forgiven by me for that at all. A 130 pounder coming on your turf and fighting the two kings in the weight class in his first and potentially second fight in the division. Ooh, child. Those champions will look like some absolute pussies. I just got to keep it a buck and all the way stacked with y'all. That would be the most sus, heartless, cowardly shit that I've ever seen in the goddamn lightweight division. What? If Roach can come in there and do that, I mean, all respect and credit has to be put on his name, but goddamn, those other dudes need to be X'd off of every goddamn champions list possible, every pound for pound list possible, every favorites list possible. I will never accept that from them if this man is able to walk in there and do that. Crazy work. Suckers. I don't like it at all. Now, speaking of Shakur Stevenson really quickly, you guys, since we're on the subject of the young king, I don't know what it is about this young man, but for some odd reason, some bewildering reason, Shakur Stevenson just cannot seem to refrain from having or creating conflicts surrounding money for a fight. I don't know what the fuck this man is on. I don't know why this tendency exists within him. I don't know what type of framework he sets up for himself where he is in a constant tug and pull, quarreling surrounding money for a fight. I don't know what this is, but he cannot stay away from these types of conflicts surrounding money and a fight being made. What is going on with this young man, y'all? The young man is complaining on social media as of the past day about a fight being made with goddamn Zepeda. Okay? This man complains about wanting more money incessantly. This is an incessant issue with Shakur Stevenson, you guys. It's incessant. He just cannot seem to get away from this type of issue. It's profuse at this point, right? We saw it against Jamel Herring, where he begged and cried and demanded for a 50-50 split with the champion, as the beautiful King BFTB explicated on numerous occasions and exposed and showed receipts for on numerous occasions, right? The champion of that division, who was Jamel Herring at that time, was the man who had the belt. And he was crying and complaining to the champion about wanting not only more money, but 50-fucking-50. Can you believe this? Fast forward to Devin Haney. Okay? The situation that we all know, the infamous situation with him turning down not one, not two, but consecutive offers from Devin Haney to fight, which included a 25% offer that included, it was 25% of all generated revenue for that fight, including all 4 belts, which meant undisputed. He complained about that shit. And he wanted 50-50 with Dev, the under-goddamn disputed champion. He complained. And subsequently, he denied the fight due to what? Wanting more money. Now, here we are on Twitter. Fast forward. Here we are. Yesterday on Twitter, he's going back and forth with Della Redbottom about what? You guessed it. More money. What is going on here, you guys? He said the Munty, Hunty. I want more, Hunty. It's like, damn, and I hate to sound like this man should not be getting his due. You know what I'm saying? His bag or whatever. I just find it very odd that this is a constant theme with this man, right? So Oscar de la Redbottom posted on Twitter. He said the following. This is a quote from de la Redbottom. He says, after all the shit talking, Shakur pulls out of the Zepeda fight. End quote. That's what de la Redbottom said, right? And Shakur's response to this was, quote, is that what they told you? Turkey promised me a number, and now he's going back on that number that he promised me and sending in his towel boys to run the info to me instead of telling me straight up what he's trying to do. I don't bow down to nobody. Mr. De La Hoya, now let's negotiate. End quote. That's Shakur Stevenson's response to De La Redbottom. So, of course we see here, Core is saying that Turkey, allegedly promised him a particular amount of money to fight William Zepeda. But now he finds that Turkey is rescinding that offer, rescinding the statement that he made for whatever promise that he gave of payment to Shakur Stevenson for that fight. He's saying this is the case on Turkey's end. Now, Shakur goes on to say, quote, crazy thing is, on my soul, I would cook dude so badly. He's a mismatch. I want this fight so bad that these dudes want to take advantage of me by giving me way less than I got for Padley, just because they know how bad I want it. End quote. That's what Shakur said on Twitter. Now, something, rang out to me here. Okay. If this is such a mismatch, right, with he and Zepeda, why does Shakur Stevenson want it so bad? I mean, did I read incorrectly or did I, misjudge the words that he wrote? They know that I want it so bad. But in the very breath, 5 minutes earlier, said that it's a complete mismatch and he would wash dude. Why the fuck would you want this fight so bad then, Mr. Shakur? Why is this the fight that you want so bad? You want a mismatch so bad? Is that what I heard, you guys? You want a mismatch so bad? Am I missing something here, y'all? Is this mismatch supposed to be associated with some type of accreditation that he is going to get by solidifying this fight? Is that what it's about? He's going to get a certain level of esteem if he takes this, fight? I don't get it. I don't get it. Is this, a type of fight that, exceeds for some reason the champions around you? You want this so bad. I don't understand that. Then how is it the fucking mismatch? You know what I mean? Now I get the competitive streak, Zepeda is, a name among the sanctioning bodies or whatever. He's been ranked within the sanctioning bodies for some time and stuff like that. And I guess, is he considered his mandatory at this point? Considering, of course, his recent victory against Farmer, the second victory against Farmer, whatever, quote unquote victory, if you will. You know what I mean? But, Zepeda walked out with a W or whatever. Is that, I don't get it. I get the competitive streak, but you want Zepeda so bad? I just found it, what was peculiar to me was that he wants Zepeda so bad. I just don't get that language. I didn't like the way that came out. I want Zepeda so bad, as if Zepeda, stands to make him, or, stands to stamp him in some type of way. But then in the same instance, say that he's a complete mismatch and you're going to drown him. I don't get that. I really don't get the logic of that. I guess to some degree, I'd like for Shakur to get Zepeda out of the way simply for the sake of remaining active. And also, to take the wind away from all the smoke that's currently being blown up Zepeda's ass by Della Redbottom and that whole crew over there and stuff like that, thinking that he can, stand, amid somebody like Shakur and whoever in the division. So for that reason, I guess, you can get him out of there. But, as I've stated in previous discussions, beautiful people, Zepeda has no bearing on Shakur Stevenson's legacy or stature. He's just another fucking body that'll be on a resume, real talk. He's just another body on a resume for Shakur Stevenson. He's not adding any level of weight or credence aside from an additional name that he's competed with. You know what I mean? So to want that so bad, it just sounded odd to me, because he should be saying continuously that he wants Tank so bad. He should be calling for the return, continuously for Lomachenko. And real talk, he should definitely be turning to Keyshawn Davis and wanting that so goddamn bad, because he's a champion in his division too. What is going on? Now, another thing that was weird to me about this whole thing, and seeing Shakur Stevenson in this quick little banter and back and forth yesterday on Twitter. Now, that had me question is like, what is the money that Turkey promised you? Was it a promise? Was it a promise that he gave you? Strangely, Core, this whole thing with him taking to his Twitter was weird, because in another post that he made, he states the following, quote, he says, this is bizarre, you guys. He says, quote, real men stand up and never bow down to nobody but the creator. End quote. Did you guys hear that? Real men they stand up and they don't bow down to nobody but the creator. That's Shakur Stevenson on Twitter as well, amid all the other things that he was writing. Bow down? That's an interesting choice of words, you guys. No? Very peculiar, you guys. What is going on here? Wasn't Turkey just the man that Shakur Stevenson aligned with for the purpose of solidifying the best matchups possible? And for the purpose and for the reason that he pays handsomely? So now you're implying that Turkey wants you to bow down and wants to not pay you handsomely? I don't get it. I don't get it, you guys. What type of business transaction, is going on here between you and Turkey, where 1 minute, he is the best thing since sliced bread because he is about, boxers fighting the best boxers and paying boxers what it is that they ought to have, to now transitioning into, well, I don't bow down to nobody and you ain't paying me shit. You feel me? I don't get it. Didn't you guys just co-sign each other? He co-signed you, you co-signed him? I don't understand the dynamic at hand, you guys. So does this mean that Shakur Stevenson is now publicly soiling and disavowing Turkey Al-Sheikh? What's happening? And what's the reason for this quick turnaround and transition in language and rapport with each other? What's the cause of that? I don't know what's happening now. And what does it mean for any other future endeavors that they may have been embarking on together? And moreover, how is this statement from Shakur Stevenson going to fare well for DAZN and Matchroom, who have an extensive partnership and relationship with Turkey Al-Sheikh? Is you coming out here talking all crazy like this going to bode well for DAZN and Matchroom and Eddie Hearn? They got a rapport with Turk. They make crazy money with Turk. I don't understand, y'all. One thing I do know is that Shakur Stevenson is no stranger Real talk, you guys. No stranger at all to making a fuss and causing an issue regarding financial matters. As touched upon and exemplified for you in the earlier examples, he's shown that he is willing to snake and connive and overstate his margin. Shakur Stevenson, he snaked goddamn Jamel Herring. He overstated his himself with Devin Haney. What is going on? He does not even care if he is out of bounds with those demands. He will do it if he can. Give him an inch, he's going to take 3 miles. That's the type of time Shakur Stevenson is on as far as the negotiation table is concerned. Now, I have no idea as to what Turk may have promised or not promised, spoken to him about or not spoken to him about. But this young man certainly has a track record behind him. Okay, that's all that I am saying. Now, I also question, how is it that he could be offered less money for fighting William Zepeda than he was with Josh Padley? That's a part that I don't get, because he had mentioned that in a tweet. He had mentioned that he's getting offered less to fight Zepeda than Padley. How the fuck is that possible when Padley was not even the one who he was initially slated to fight, you guys? That month ago or so, on that Riyadh card that just passed. He wasn't slated to fight Padley. He was supposed to fight Floyd Schofield. Okay? Josh Padley was the replacement to Schofield, you guys, as we all recall. Why is he speaking of Padley as if Padley was the initial fight that he was negotiating? What does he mean he was offered less than he was to fight Padley? You weren't offered shit to fight Padley. Padley was happenstance. He came by happenstance. That was not the original aim. That was a turn of events, unfortunately, because Schofield and Sassy Daddy, masterminded some plan to get out of that goddamn fight. You know what I mean? That was weird to me. I'm hella confused by that statement. Oh, I'm offered less to fight him than Padley. Moreover, I have a question, you guys. Can a champion's salary be altered after they sign a contract to fight? I don't think so. That's the whole reason of a goddamn contract and agreeing to terms. Schofield pulled out of the fight, but that fight was already agreed upon from top to bottom. Everything, including the venue, the payment, all of that was determined, substantiated, and agreed to within the terms before the fight commenced. You can't back out of the agreement that you motherfucking agreed to as far as your payment. So that is to say that Padley becoming a replacement should not have affected the money that you negotiated from the start to face Schofield. Facts or no? Core is speaking as if the fight with Padley having taken place instead of the Schofield fight made him take a lower amount of money, which is what I am finding odd and peculiar here. Okay, and he's complaining now that Zepeda is an even lower offer than that alleged fight. I don't get it, you guys. I don't know. Shakur, I'm going to leave that man to his own devices at this point. But let me give him some advice if I can. Leave the money talk out of the public, bruh. I don't give a goddamn about no goddamn money talk. Core, just leave it out of the public, y'all, because it's not a good look at all. You got everybody up in arms and asking questions, and it's making you, most of all, look absolutely terrible considering all the stunts that you've pulled thus far. Shakur then goes on to post on his Twitter the following. He says, quote, "I'm not done negotiating because one thing about it is I'm the champ. So whether the fight gets done with these people or not, I'm stepping on dude. But the fight will be made next." He then adds the following, quote, "The fight is ordered by the WBC. I'm still champion and not pulling out of anything. If we can't reach a deal, then the purse bid it is. See you soon." End quote. That's Shakur Stevenson's Twitter, if you guys haven't come across that. Interesting stuff. It's like, oh, child. Quite frankly, I'm not too keen and have never been too fond of the public negotiation route that these people take and throwing out money and making that information public. I don't give a damn what you're being paid or what you're not goddamn being paid. You understand? I'm a fight fan. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to see what you do in the ring. That's my concern. That's where my attention is. Y'all ain't adding no zeros to my goddamn bank account. I don't give a damn what it is that you making or what you trying to negotiate. Shoot for the moon and land amongst the stars if you can. That's the object of negotiation. Do your best. You know what I'm saying? But, if you cannot bypass or supersede the stance of the person that is putting the money on the table, then you absolutely take what you can get if it's something that you quote unquote want so bad. You know what I mean? You go for the gusto, but, you meet yourself amid, the points where you can get in. You know what I mean? That's it. If you feel the need to share that to the public, at least let it be after the fact, when everything has been signed and when the fight is already agreed to and, all of that shit. And you guys have agreed amicably. You want to make that type of thing public, the amounts of payments and purses and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine. That's up to you. But, while you're in the middle of all of this stuff being formulated, keep me the fuck out of it, please. I hate coming across this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that there's already an unreasonable level and an unreasonable fixation, real talk, in the boxing world that a lot of the boxing community has placed on such a thing like money and what this person is getting and what that person ought to be paid. And it's an obsession, going around, with what these fighters are making. It's crazy to me. I'm really tired of that type of dialogue, you guys. It's quite bizarre to me. And I think that this shit gets people in an absolute frenzy. And it's nothing but a swarm of excuses that always trails behind from fighters and fans alike, and it too often gets in the way of these things materializing, of these fights that we want to see materializing because of these excuses and these, astronomical numbers and all of these other things. It's just weird to me. Core has been the forebearer of this type of situation on more occasion than one. More occasions than one. Okay. So this is nothing new that he is now in a battle, in demanding whatever his demands may be or whatever from Turkey or whatever have you. It's just another example that he unfortunately keeps exhibiting in the public that I find to be very, very weird. I want no part of it. Is you fighting or no? That's the only thing I want to know. Is you fucking fighting? Okay. If you're not, move on to the goddamn next and set up the next goddamn fight. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear no goddamn talks of this dumb shit. It's weird to me because he already used it as an excuse to bypass Devin. He used it as an excuse to, absolutely disrespect Jamel Herring, who ultimately gave into that demand for whatever reason, I guess because he wanted the fight. But, he used it for that. And now this. It's like, Zepeda ain't even worth shit for you to be, going through all of this drama for. I don't know, y'all. What y'all think about this whole nonsense? Did y'all come across that on Twitter? Let me check with my people and see what y'all think about it. I just found it to be very strange, y'all. Very strange. Did I miss anybody coming in? Let me see. Oh, the King Ruben is in the building. Salute, King Ruben. Nice to see you. Let's see here. Y'all getting that Ruben? Oh my God, they chopping Ruben up in the chat. Okay, what Ruben said? That's probably further up, and I'm too lazy to scroll all the way up there. Yes, great Mike, the entitlement is crazy, isn't it? Isn't it crazy? Oh my goodness, Shakur does think he's Bud. Apparently, twin. Like what? What is going on here? Why does he keep falling into the same pattern of operating? What is this habit? What is this habit? I don't know if you guys remember at the onset of the dialogue where I was talking about some of the things limiting the progress of, the propelling of boxing forward, is old habits and stuff like that. Part of that is old habits. This is what I was referring to and alluding to. This particular segment. I think that it's a habit that Shakur Stevenson, like I said, I have to clarify that I am not against any fighter making their money and any fighter being business savvy enough to negotiate the terms and the payment that is suitable for them, that is what you should be doing. Okay. And you should be sharp at doing that to make sure that you at least get as close to the number or as near to the number as possible. Absolutely. Exercise that muscle as best you can and as frequently as you can. Nothing wrong with that. But the fact that it stands to be, always a matter of contention concerning the materialization of a fight is what I find to be weird, especially in a fight as low, bad enough he bypassed, he made this, habit an issue. And very weird. Absolutely very weird. Absolutely weird. Can you sign it and stop turning the contract down? Mr. Sign the contract that you never sent? How about you stop denying the offers that you were being sent at that time? Maybe you could have had undisputed. Maybe you could have been undisputed at this point and moved on to bigger and better things. But the mindset hindered you from that type of progress. It's wild, y'all. Whatever happened to the poisons cream? Oh, you mean with Schofield twin? Is that what you're talking about? The one that they allegedly rubbed all over Schofield's body? Child. I have no idea. The King Stephen says, yep, let your promoter talk for you, Coy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Let that be handled on that side. It's just not looking, it's not, it doesn't put Shakur Stevenson in a favorable light, especially considering the history and track record that he's built up until this point. Wild as hell. Wild as hell. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it for me, you guys. I just want to read through maybe anything that salute to the King. Roll Tide in the building. I see you, King. Got to salute the King. Roll Tide. Salute to you. Thank you for joining this evening. Let me see if anything else was stated that I want to address really quickly. Ruben is talking all the shit that he wants to in this chat. He says, you mean he thinks he's better than Bud? I guess so, Ruben. I guess he does. But, he's following in his footsteps because, talk about, overextending yourself, going beyond, your means. Didn't Bud do that against EJ? Good thing EJ wanted that fight bad enough because everybody else was telling EJ, fuck no, don't give Bud shit. He don't deserve that. You got 3 of the goddamn belts. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. Sounds like he's following right behind those particular footsteps. I don't know. Salute to Shakur Stevenson. According to him, this is the fight that he wants next. This is not necessarily a fight that I care for, as you guys can tell, as I've stated many times. It's not something that I'm interested in, but like I said, if Zepeda is the mandatory, obviously Tank Davis is allegedly, for all we know, preparing for the Roetry match. So that's not a fight that could happen next, if that's going to be happening within the next couple of months or so. When is Shakur trying to make this Zepeda fight? Is this something he's trying to make for the summer? I don't know what's happening. But like I said, for the sake of getting Zepeda out of there and just dismantling, this little bit of smoke that Zepeda is riding, I guess, or that's trying to be generated around him, for that sake, yeah, you can get him out of there. But I just don't think that this is, a fight that's going to garner the level of anticipation that, of course, fighting the other champions next to him would. And real talk, I'm just tired of sitting in anticipation for the unifications to take place at 135. It's sickening. It's disgusting to me that there has been no unifications happening ever since the departure of Devin Haney. It's just an absolute wreck. And these people don't seem to have any heart or fervor in changing that narrative and dynamic. There's no vehemence or fervor in changing that, and stepping on smoke time at 135. I just don't see it. Apparently, the 130 pounder got the heart of the lion in the goddamn division, and Abdullah Mason, the 21-year-old. You know what I mean? They got the heart. Roach is walking in there like, what's popping? I'm going to take your head off again. Let's set up the fight. He been calling for the rematch. Even before the fight happened, he was reminding Tank that we got a rematch clause. You know what I mean? Roach is the one on Smoke Time, and he's not even a real 135er. He's a 130 pounder. What's going on? I don't know, you guys. Anyway, I think that's all for me, you guys. You know, all that I made note to speak to you guys about. Definitely interesting occurrence happening at the moment in boxing. Like I said, there is a level of reconnaissance, you know, and just overall evaluation and investigation that needs to be done within the sport on the individual level, from the boxers themselves, from the promoters themselves, and from the boxing world. We all need to be engaging with ourselves and making, you know, our motivations clear what it is that we want to do, how it is that we intend to move forward, and how we want to step into the rest of the year and into the years to come. You know what I'm saying? I know that Boots Ennis definitely made his intentions clear. You know, he's on the path of unification, you know, with the champion, which is a beautiful thing. The King, Abdullah Mason, made his intentions clear, you know what I'm saying, with yet another beautiful, dominant performance last evening, and making once again the intentions known that he wants to have a title fight before the year is out. Is that something that he can bring into fruition? I surely hope so. I surely hope so. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully we get some questions answered as to, you know, the American heavyweight landscape, because it is definitely lacking, and we definitely need some reconnaissance to take place within the 135 division, you guys. Oh my goodness. What is going on? What is going on? Lots of things happening and buzzing underneath the surface in the boxing world. And I guess we will see as time passes how things will unfold, and we will see who is really focused on obtaining those answers and who isn't, right? So I think I'm going to end it there, you guys. I hope that you beautiful people had a lovely evening with me tonight. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you to all of my members, the great Mike, the beautiful sister Cameron Fields, my beautiful sister, my beautiful sister. Yeah. Oh, I always forget that you and Chiquila have the same last name. I always think I'm misspeaking, but you guys literally have the last name Fields. So salute to my beautiful sister Cameron Fields, my beautiful sister Chiquila Fields, the great Mike in the building. Salute to the King Freedom, another member of mine who joined. The lovely King and my lovely twin Daryl in the building. I got to shout out my members because they stand 10 toes and show constant support for the Queen Sugar Free. I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you to everybody in the building, my regulars, the King Steven. Salute to my beautiful sister Bella Faith, who joined us this evening. Salute to the King Snoopy Dream Team on deck. Okay. Salute to the King Demo, who was with us earlier. We had a lot of people in here. Thank you, Ruben, for joining us tonight. Thank you to all the brothers and sisters who showed love, and definitely a huge thanks to the beautiful King BFTB for showing love to me earlier today in the chat. I'm not sure if he's still in the building, but thank you, King, so much for coming. I always appreciate your presence. Thank you. You already know what time it is. The King, Rodney James. Oh, Mo, you were in the building. I did not see you. Did I miss you? Because I be scrolling so fast through these damn things, you know, picking out certain things that catch my eye. I'm sorry if I missed you, Mo. Did I salute you? Salute to the King Mo with his hearts in the building. Thank you so much, King, for joining. I hope that you guys have a beautiful week ahead. Definitely keep up with me in the community page throughout the week because that's where I like to talk to you guys and keep in touch with you throughout the week. So definitely check for me there. Definitely be sure to hit the like button on your way out, you guys. I appreciate your presence. Thank you for always standing 10 toes, and I cannot wait to check back in with you and check in with my beautiful family. All right? That's it for me, y'all. I'm out. Peace and love to you, beautiful people. See you guys soon. Peace.